An analysis and reading of Mr. Rochester's proposal to Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre by Kate Johnson and Charles Head.
I offer you my hand, my heart, and a share of all my possessions.
You play a farce, which I merely laugh at.
I ask you to pass through life at my side, to be my second self and best earthly companion.
For that fate you've already made your choice, and must abide by it.
Jane, be still a few moments. You are overexcited. Come to my side, Jane, and let us explain and understand one another.
I will never again come to your side. I am torn away now and cannot return.
But Jane, I summon you as my wife. It is only you I intend to marry.
I was silent. I thought you mocked me.
Come, Jane, come hither.
Your bride stands between us.
My bride is here, because my equal is here, and my likeness, Jane. Will you marry me?
Still I did not answer. I was still incredulous.
Do you doubt me, Jane?
Entirely.
You have no faith in me?
Not a whit.
Am I a liar in your eyes? Little skeptic, you shall be convinced. What love have I for Miss Ingram? None, and that you know. You strange, you almost unearthly thing. I love you as my own flesh. You poor and obscure and small and plain as you are, I entreat to accept me as a husband.
What? Me? Me who have not a friend in the world but you? If you are my friend, not a shilling but what you have given me?
You, Jane, I must have you for my own, entirely my own. Will you be mine? Say yes quickly.
Mr. Rochester, let me look at your face. Turn to the moonlight.
Why?
Because I want to read your countenance. Turn.
There, you will find it scarcely more legible than a crumpled, scratched page. Read on, only make haste, for I suffer.
Are you in earnest? Do you truly love me? Do you sincerely wish me to be your wife?
I do, and if an oath be necessary to satisfy it, I swear it.
Then, sir, I will marry you.
After many months at Thornfield Hall, Mr. Rochester abruptly professes his love for Jane Eyre, and his disgust for Blanche Ingram and her sole desire for wealth. This passage contains irony in Jane's exclamation that Mr. Rochester's bride stands between them. She's speaking of Blanche Ingram, for she believed that Blanche and Mr. Rochester would be married. But it is ironic because we later find out that Mr. Rochester has been married to Bertha for many years. Although Blanche does not stand in the way of Jane and Rochester getting married as Jane thought, Bertha does. This is the first of the proposals of Mr. Rochester to Jane, and in this one we see Jane portrayed as a lesser person, for he's almost speaking down to her. In the next scene, keep in mind the language Rochester uses and how it differs from this proposal.
Jane, will you marry me?
Yes, sir.
A poor blind man whom you will have to lead about by the hand.
Yes, sir.
A crippled man, 20 years older than you, whom you'll have to wait on.
Yes, sir.
Truly, Jane?
Most truly, sir.
Oh, my darling, God bless you and reward you.
Mr. Rochester, if ever I did a good deed in my life, if ever I thought a good thought, if ever I prayed a sincere and blameless prayer, if ever I wished a righteous wish, I'm rewarded now. To be your wife is, for me, to be as happy as I can be on earth.
Because you delight in sacrifice?
Sacrifice? What do I sacrifice? Famine for food? Expectation for content? To be privileged to put my arms around what I value, to press my lips to what I love, to repose on what I trust. Is that to make a sacrifice? If so, then certainly I delight in sacrifice.
And to bear of my infirmities, Jane? To overlook my deficiencies?
Which are none, sir, to me. I love you better now, when I can really be useful to you, than I did in your state of proud independence, when you disdained every part but that of the giver and protector.
Hitherto I have hated to be helped, to be led. Henceforth I feel I shall hate it no more. I did not like to put my hand into a hireling's, but it is pleasant to feel it circled by Jane's little fingers. I preferred utter loneliness to the constant attendance of servants, but Jane's soft ministry will be a perpetual joy. Jane suits me. Do I suit her?
To the finest fibre of my nature, sir.
The case being so, we have nothing in the world to wait for. We must be married instantly.
Reader, I married him. A quiet wedding we had, he and I. The parson and clerk were alone present.
As we said in the analysis of the previous passage, this scene is very different from the initial proposal between Jane Eyre and Mr. Rochester. In this scene, Mr. Rochester thinks of himself as the lesser person, and is worried that Jane will not want to be with him due to his handicaps. This is a stark contrast from the first proposal, because in this one, Rochester thinks he's a burden to Jane, and he is surprised he doesn't have to beg for her hand. The significance of this is that it shows the development of Mr. Rochester throughout the novel, and how, in the beginning, he was incredibly self-sufficient and would not accept help, but later opened up to Jane and allowed her to support him. After a tumultuous beginning, Jane finally gets to a point where she can live a happy life with her only love.